everyone, and welcome. So, have you ever just looked at something and wondered, how did that go from just an idea in someone's head to a real physical thing you can actually hold? That's exactly what we're going to unpack today. That journey from a tiny spark of an idea all the way to something with a real identity and purpose. Yeah, this is really the big question, isn't it? I mean, anyone can make stuff, but how do you give an object a soul? It's about creating something that has a story, a real reason for being. How do you breathe life into it? Okay, let's dive in and unpack this whole process, from that very first thought to a finished creation that actually means something. All right, first things first, you gotta start with the basics, right? Before you can build anything, you need to understand the fundamental building blocks of, well, everything in the 3D world. And that all starts with form. So when we talk about form, pretty much everything falls into one of two buckets. On one side, you've got your geometric forms. Think precise, mathematical shapes, cubes, spheres, pyramids, the stuff buildings and machines are made of. And on the other side, you've got organic forms. These are the irregular, free-flowing shapes you see out in nature. Think about clouds or rocks or plants. Just getting a handle on that difference is really the first major step to thinking like a 3D designer. Okay, so you've got a shape in your head. Now, what are you going to make it out of? This is where materials come into play. And trust me, this choice is a huge deal. It can totally change the entire feel and even the purpose of what you're creating. Just think about it for a second. Wood feels strong, natural, kind of warm, right? Metal, that's durable, maybe a little cold, but super strong. And textiles, of course, are soft and flexible. See, the material you pick isn't just a practical choice. Nope. It's a massive part of the story your creation is going to tell. All right, so you've picked your basic shape, you've got your materials, now what? This is where the real fun begins. How do you actually take those pieces and turn them from a pile of stuff into a finished thing? Well, you need a plan. Seriously, it's kind of like cooking. A great chef follows a recipe, and a great designer follows a process. It's this structured approach, this blueprint, that takes you from a kind of messy idea in your head to something, well, polished and finished. And here it is, the 5-step recipe for creation. It all kicks off with that little spark, the idea. Then you've got to get it out of your head and onto paper, which is sketching. From there, it's all about planning. What materials, what tools are you going to use? Then comes the main event, creation, the actual building part. And you can't forget the last step, finishing, all those little polishes and final touches that make it perfect. Sticking to these steps in this order, that's how you turn a creative mess into something amazing. So, we've gone through the process. We've built an object, but just because something is finished doesn't mean it has that soul we were talking about. Now we have to give it an identity. This is the part where we move beyond making just a thing and start creating something with a real signature style. And that's what we call a creative identity. Think of it like your unique fingerprint on everything you make. It's that special something that makes a person look at your work and go, oh, I know exactly who made this. It's basically your personal brand, and it's how you tell the world what you're all about. So, how do you even start to build one? Well, it usually boils down to a few key things. You've got your logo design, that's like your unique symbol. Then there's color psychology, using specific colors to make people feel a certain way. And super important, having a consistent style, a look that's recognizably yours across everything you do. You put all those together, and boom, you've got a creative identity. Okay, we're at the last and maybe the most critical piece of this whole puzzle. You've built something awesome, you've given it a cool identity, but who is it for? Because honestly, designing something without thinking about the person who's going to use it, it's like writing a letter and then just stuffing it in a drawer. I mean, it's just common sense when you think about it. You wouldn't make the same thing for a tiny baby as you would for a teenager, right? Of course not. The baby needs something soft, safe, probably pretty simple. The teenager? They might want something that's cool, stylish, expressive. See? The person you're designing for literally changes every decision you make. And this leads us right to this idea of a target audience. This is all about knowing exactly who you're making something for. What makes them tick? What do they actually need in their life? What makes them happy? Answering these questions isn't just an exercise. It guides every single choice, from the materials you pick to the final color you paint it. Let's look at a really cool real-life story of this in action. Let me tell you about the Saturday Evening Girls Club. They created this amazing line of pottery that eventually became super famous as Paul Revere pottery. Now, their success was no accident. Not at all. They knew their audience inside and out. They knew they were making stuff for people who wanted really good quality, handmade things for their homes. Things that weren't just beautiful, but were also useful. So what did they make? Plates, bowls, vases. They weren't just making art for a gallery. They were making functional art that served a very clear purpose. That is what it means to design with an audience in mind. And so that brings everything full circle, right back to you. We've gone on this whole journey, from a simple shape to a finished object with its own identity, made for a specific audience. So now I've got to ask, thinking about all this, what's the first thing you'd design? And maybe even more important, who would you design it for? Because that question, that's where the real magic of creation truly begins.